started. I can see we've got a good amount of folks on the webinar. Sounds like we've had a few call in not on the webinar, so we might do a quick roll call to find out, just again, if you don't have the slides in front of you, that's helpful for us to know. What's the best way, Rivka? Do we want to just go through the webinar to make sure they're on the phone as well?
You want to go through attendance?
Yeah, let's do attendance.
Okay. If you've joined us on the phone, would you let us know you're with us?
And only on the phone.
We'll start with phone.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Luis Carvalho, Yakima Valley Farm Workers.
Louis, okay. Anyone else on the phone? Okay. Let's do a roll call then of folks who have joined us, not via the phone, but have logged in to join the webinar. And I will unmute you to be able to do that. Who do we have with us?
Hi, this is Serena Cruz from Virginia Garcia.
Carolyn Dahl is here.
Hi, Carolyn.
Jonathan Hall.
Hi, Jonathan. Welcome.
Lyman Flinner.
Sorry, who is that?
Lyman Flinner.
Okay, Lyman, welcome.
And Greg Miller's on phone.
Greg, welcome.
Shelley Meeson is here.
Welcome, Shelley.
Virginia Cornyn.
Virginia, welcome. Anybody else?
Okay. All right. Well,
should we go through who's in the room?
Yes.
Okay. Rivka is here from OPCA.
I'm Danielle Sobel with OPCA. And this is Laura Etherton with OPCA. Perfect.
Thank you all for joining us.
All right, so with that, we will go ahead and kick off our 2018 P&I Day on the Hill prep call. So again, to give you a sense of what the call is going to look like, you should have received an agenda in your email last week and again, I think this morning. But we will walk through what a congressional visit or what the congressional visit schedule is and the meetings that are also happening as part of P&I and meetings that you're eligible to attend, again, as you come with our delegation. We'll review the policy issues and the key asks of members of Congress, again, given this climate, what we'll be talking about with those lawmakers, how we're going to do those visits, how you can prepare. So again, there's a little bit of preparation and homework on your end in terms of being ready to attend in 2 weeks. We'll go through the logistics. So again, just those day of logistics, how that's going to look, answering questions around what that looks like. And then we will give plenty of time for Q&A. So again, I'm Danielle Sobel. I am the policy manager and kind of the lead, if you will, for this particular preparation, making sure we have our visits scheduled, all of the things around our delegation. I am curious to find out, and we can use our chat function, is there anybody that hasn't ever attended a Hill visit, a lawmaker visit, or done this with OPCA in the past? And if you'll just type in your name or say hi on the chat, that would be great.
I've also unmuted you if you feel like speaking up.
Virginia.
Virginia, got it?
Yeah, I have not been there before.
Okay.
I have neither. Michael Allen.
Michael Allen? Oh, hi, Dr. Allen.
Hey. Great.
Anybody else willing to be brave? Awesome. Well, that's really helpful. It's also helpful to know, so we are a delegation of 22. We have 22 folks attending from 10 clinics. So that gives actually a sense that there's quite a few that will be in the room with you for these visits who will have done this before. And I would say I'm also a newbie, right? I'm new with OPCA, and so I'm new to these visits and doing this, actually not not new to the visits, but new to doing this as the work for OPCA. So I'm excited to do this with you guys as well. So moving right along, the meeting schedule. So what you'll see on this slide, if you have it in front of you, we will send these slides out after the presentation, and then it will also have been recorded. But this will give you an overview of what the 2 days look like for the Wednesday, the March 14th, and then Thursday, March 15th. It is important to note that there are meetings that happen and that are good to attend on the 14th if you are in town by that time. So again, that first meeting occurs at 1 o'clock in DC at the Marriott Wardman, so it's part of the conference, and that is the Region 10 meeting. And that's an invite only, so that is something that you'll have gotten an email from Laura asking you to come. That tends to be our executive directors, but again, that's a meeting that's important to be at. There is also a meeting, and I apologize, I did not make it on this slide, at, I believe it's also 1 or 2 o'clock. That is the overview from the NAC folks of how to be ready to attend meetings. So again, I will make sure that's on your schedule that we actually have in your packets. And then our delegation meeting is at 5:45 that night. So that's an assigned time. We have the 5:45 to 6:45 slot. This is where you will pick up your materials, your packets. We'll be picking up the awards, everything that goes to the Hill with us on Thursday. So that's one to mark for your calendar. Make sure you're in town for, or hopefully in town for, to come meet with us. If for some reason you won't be in town, by that 5:45, we will have your packets and materials ready to go the next morning. So again, both ways, but ideally you'll come. It's a chance to go through the talking points again. We'll do some of the quote unquote elevator speech, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But again, we'd love to see you and get oriented with you. And then the 15th there, that is the full schedule of how the day is going to run. I won't walk through that because, again, you can read that on your own. But we do start by about 9 o'clock in the morning. We do meet at the Marriott Wardman Hotel to travel together for anybody that wants to travel with the OPCA team to the Hill. If you happen to be staying closer, you want to get up a little later, you certainly can get yourself to the Capitol. But again, we are going to ask that you be there no later than 9:30, in part because of security and getting through that initial round of security and getting to the place where you need to be for those first meetings. Again, that first meeting is going to be at 10 o'clock. That's with Senator Wyden. And actually, we've got back-to-back Wyden and Merkley senator meetings. And then what you'll see from there are the actual members of Congress meetings. Those are broken out by where your clinic is located. So again, some of you are going to have more than one congressional meeting. Some will have one. And then some are going to do all. Yakima Valley Farm Workers does the majority of the meetings. I think you're my only one that goes back to back to back. But again, we will have that schedule clearly laid out in your packet. We will also individualize it so that you know exactly by clinic where you're going, when you're going. What I would caveat here is that that is subject to change. So again, these are booked for now. You never know what happens on the floor, never know what happens with schedules. So we will have your cell phone numbers. We will have ways of contacting you to ensure that you know if it's been changed, and calendar appointments. We'll be sending calendar appointments as well. So again, lots of ways to make sure you know where you're going, what you're doing. And again, Laura and myself are the points of contact if you get lost or need help. The 4 o'clock hour, 4:30, somewhere in there, we do host a happy hour and kind of a debrief, come enjoy, talk about the successes, have a good time. And again, that's the time just to relax at Open City, or we think hopefully will be Open City, but again, that final schedule when you get to DC will actually confirm where the happy hour is. There's a couple of us that will also be attending the Health Policy Fellows class meet and greet. And again, that's a program that's kicking off with NAC. They're doing a meet and greet there. And then it's also important to note that there's the Healthcare Leadership Reception and Awards that you certainly can attend. There's also more to eat and more to drink. And we do want you to attend that as well. I should also note that if you guys have questions, since we do have you muted, please feel free to use the chat box. We can certainly be answering those as we go, and then again, we'll open to question and answers shortly here. All righty, so as we look at what the actual day and the goals of the Hill Day are, as you'll see there, again, one of those things is to meet with the policymakers, right? This is the opportunity that we get to go meet with all 7 of our lawmakers that represent us on the federal side. It strengthens relationships, and it helps them understand the key issues that impact our work. And again, you're the face. It makes that personal relationship, gives them a sense of, oh yeah, I remember meeting with so-and-so. It's an opportunity to thank them for their support of our community health center funding, right? So we finally got that cliff passed with your work. It took a lot of work, but we will be thanking them for their part, or whatever their role was, in helping get that funding secured. And then we will share the impact of community health centers on the people that you serve and across the state of Oregon. The last goal is to have fun. This should be fun, right? I know this can be intimidating, especially for folks that are coming in new or wondering, how do I do this? I don't know how to talk to a legislator. They're people, right? They want you to come. They want to hear what the issues are, and it really can be fun to do this. So that's my goal for you guys. All righty. So the next couple of slides are on our key issues and asks when we're doing the meetings. So again, these are 15-minute, often 15 minutes, sometimes up to 30-minute meetings. So it is a very tight timeline of how we're going to be doing and leading these meetings. But what I wanted to give you as your background, so that as you prepare, are these key issues that are going on and that we want to make sure we're raising with the lawmakers. The issues are actually very similar, or I should say the OPCA areas of our policy areas actually aligned really well this year with NACHC policy areas. And so what I included for you is the NACHC asks. So the first one there, as I mentioned, is that community health center funding. And again, we will be thanking each of those lawmakers for their work. We will be tailoring what the thank you is. So again, they did various pieces, whether it was signing appropriations letters, whether it was being on a committee in a leadership position, and Congressman Walden comes to mind there. So again, various pieces they did, we'll be making sure we tailor that. We will likely be thanking the majority of our lawmakers for supporting the fiscal year 19 appropriations letter. That's actually currently out right now. There's both a House and a Senate side letter. If they haven't signed, their due date to sign that letter is actually the day that we're in their offices. So it will either be a really great opportunity to thank them, or we will actually be saying, hey, remember to sign on, and hopefully by end of day while we're in your office. But again, likely be thanking them for that support. And then again, what we will be looking to do is really building on the success we had in getting the cliff fixed, and looking ahead, because 2 years is not really all that long, especially when we're actually already into that 2-year cycle. We are going to have to be lobbying again, or advocating again, for that investment to continue. 340B drug pricing program. I know this is on the minds of a lot of our community health centers, and for our policy committee, we hear a lot on this one. Again, the 2 bullet points there that you'll see are the asks, and what we'll be encouraging our lawmakers to consider. Again, I'm not going to read these to you, but what you also see on the side there where it says federal grant funding, the little graphic, I know that's probably a little bit hard to see. Those are the actual handouts we will be sending ahead of time for you to review. So that from NACHC actually has what the policy is and what the ask is. So again, gives you guys a sense of what the background is and how we build that into our conversations. Anything to add, Laura? So I'm not the only one talking necessarily.
Sure. I think, and I think you covered this, Danielle, but just in terms of the specific asks that we'll have for members of Congress, I think it's great for you to prepare and read these great policy briefing pieces that will, I think, either if we haven't sent them all out yet, we'll send them.
They're coming next.
They're coming next. Great. I think they just got finalized yesterday. So they're really helpful. They're good to see. Know that the OPCA staff person, so it'll be either myself or Craig or Danielle that are facilitating the meetings with lawmakers. We'll facilitate that, and we're responsible for tailoring each meeting's content to the specific lawmaker and their ask, so that you can really focus on telling your story. But it's great context to know what those key asks, will tend to be, in case your stories can line up with them. So I think the thing to know about this is we don't expect you to memorize every ask and nor do we think we'll probably be talking to every lawmaker about every single one of these. But it's nice context to know what the overall issues are and what some of the best talking points are about them.
Thank you. No, and that's helpful. I should have also framed that of, yes, you're not expected to know all of this in detail and regurgitate it. We'll be doing that with you and for you. Okay, so moving into the actual meeting. So again, this generally tends to be about 15 minutes that we will get with the actual lawmaker, and almost all of our meetings to date are with the actual person, right? We're not getting staff. The only one right now that we may have a staff meeting with is with Congressman DeFazio. But that does mean, again, when you get the actual lawmaker, that they tend to be these very short, concise, go kind of meetings. So what that looks like is that, as Laura mentioned, we will have a staff lead, right? So you're not alone. We're not just sending you in to go for it. We will have a assigned lead, and that lead will actually open the meeting and set the context for the discussion. We will then ask each of the community health centers that are in the room to introduce themselves, give a brief overview about their health center, and a highlight about what you do best. And I promise I'm going to give you more information on that in just a minute. We will then lead the thank you conversation around, again, the cliff fix and securing the investment in community health centers, and that same next funding cycle bit leading into that. We will start to close the meeting by tying in any of the key issue asks. So again, the key issue on those few slides that you just saw, we'll bring in those talking points as it makes sense and as the meeting flows. And then what we like to do and make sure that we have time for is that discussion Q&A piece with the actual member or lawmaker. So again, we want to give them time to also talk with you. We don't want to just talk at them. All right, so when I asked, or I told you about that introduction, I'm going to call it, quote unquote, an elevator speech. Most folks probably identify with that, know that that is about a 2-minute, what is it that your clinic does? What is it that makes you special? This is something I want you to think about getting ready and preparing for. And it's something that you also can run through with us when you get to DC on that Wednesday night. So again, we'll talk about what that is. We'll have you run through it because the more comfortable you are, the easier that's going to be when you're actually in that meeting. But what that's going to look like is obviously sharing your name and your clinic. If there's more than one of you in the room, certainly both your names and the clinic, but one of you can also be point for giving that particular speech. It highlights the patient population demographics. So again, if there's something specific to your clinic, population that you serve, we definitely want that called out, who you are. The number of patients you serve. So again, please know that number or think about what that number is for your clinic and where you're located, which you're probably going to be in that district of that person. But again, it's good for them to know what city, what town, what areas you serve. And then the final piece is to share a quote unquote bright spot about your clinic. So what do you do well? What makes you excited about your clinic? And what makes you come to work every day, right? So we often will say, well, what's the story about your community health center? Can you tell me a story about 340B? That tends to get a little, it doesn't resonate with folks, right? When we say, what's your story? This really is about what makes you come to work, what is it you guys do, and that the lawmaker doesn't know, right? Again, frame it in that context that you want that lawmaker to know what you do and why it's so good about what you do. If it is all related to any of those key issues when we send out those 5 key areas, particularly 340B or any of the substance use disorder or behavioral health, we would love to see that tied in this particular section. So again, in that elevator speech in the introduction, but it doesn't have to be, right? Again, don't want to make you guys do tons of work or make you stressed about that, but if you have it, we would love to have that tied in.
Can I jump in? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that and I think this is something that for folks who have been to P&I and done these Hill visits before, this is familiar. This is basically similar to how we've structured meetings in the past that I think has gone well. Because we don't have we're not facing exactly the funding cliff right now, we have the ability to do a little bit more depth on this is really the educating of lawmakers about why the work you do is so important. So It can be what you do well or something new that you're trying that's showing results. I think this is a place where we've heard people talk about new innovations or clinic expansions or, service expansions to do more substance use disorder treatment, or a really neat use of those 340B savings that are improving care. So just examples that make this concrete is usually the best part of the meeting. And it's the part that lawmakers remember because they picture you and the area in their district and the really special thing that you do for patients. So it's the piece that we found sticks with them.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. There we go. Sorry, malfunction there on my slides. Want to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. So moving from that meeting into, how do you prepare? So again, what can you do as the community health center as you get ready to do these meetings? That top one, as you probably expected, is, again, get that elevator speech ready, that introduction ready. Do think about examples or stories of how you do this work. So what Laura just highlighted there, right, of what is it that you're doing well, what's innovation. Medicaid success stories are always a good thing right now as well. So, if there's been successes or outreach and enrollment, provider assignment, whatever that looks like, that's a success and a good thing. Again, best stories. These are good things to have in your arsenal anyways for advocacy. So it's well worth building and spending some time on in the next couple of weeks. So really, we're only, about 10 days out at this point. That's hard to believe. But again, just think about that, have those ready, because those can be really beneficial as that meeting moves organically through the progress of it. And then data. So again, data never hurts to have on hand. As I mentioned earlier, knowing the number of patients you serve, where your clinic locations are, patient demographics. So again, number of uninsured versus Medicaid, what those poverty levels are in your areas, and the number of staff employed at your clinics. Again, these can be questions you may get asked by the lawmaker. You may want to weave these in to your narrative. But again, good things to know. Many of you probably know these off the top of your head, but again, for my newer folks, or if you are not actually part of the clinic, I know I've got some board members coming. This is really helpful information to have, and please feel free to connect with your community health center and say, hey, Danielle told me to get. They'll give it to you. So again, just getting ready for that. Right into logistics. So as I mentioned, this is the actual, what does the day look like all the way through? Again, those prep meetings, do plan to attend those meetings if you are there. So there's actually my Be Ready to Head to the Hill session at 12:30. The delegation meeting, again, at 5:45. Really critical that you're there, and again, that you get your packets and that we can run through those elevator speeches and do some of that work. Hill Day, again, we start early and we go all day. As you saw in that schedule, it's from 9 to pretty much 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night by the time you're done. I will highlight that lunch will be on your own. So that's not something that we provide, and again, that's partly because of how the day goes and how your meetings get scheduled. Some of you will have tighter transitions between meetings. You may want to bring things like Cliff Bars or snacks with you, because you may or may not get a full lunch break. There are places in most of the buildings, not all of the actual buildings where the lawmakers have food. Most of them do. There are ways to get between buildings underneath. We'll show some of that. And again, we'll be walking with you to a lot of the meetings. But just know when you look at your schedule when it comes out, and again, we will customize those as much as possible to each clinic, that it might be a little bit tight, and it might not. You might actually have time to even go out of the buildings and get some lunch. If you need recommendations, Laura is actually probably your best point of contact. I've been in DC in a long time, but again, we can work with you on those lunch places. But again, just plan for that. Know that that's going to be, based on your schedule, a little tighter. And then we really do encourage you to come, celebrate and debrief about how your day went, how the meetings went at that happy hour, likely again at Open City.
And Open City is right near the conference hotel, so it'll be, be able to get back and relax and hang out with each other. It's always fun, and and then be able to just pop right over to the reception that's happening from NAC with the awards. And because all of Oregon's lawmakers are getting awards this year, which is great, and some of them, I think a couple are getting pretty high level awards, they may actually be at that evening event too. So we might get to see them twice. We'll see. Still working on that. So that'll be really fun. You can tell what my favorite part of the day is when it's over and we all get to hang out.
As it should be.
Yeah.
All right, so just a quick note on the packets. So again, we will provide those packets. We're in the middle of putting those all together. Again, that's going to be on Wednesday night. And if you can't make Wednesday night, we will have them on, 9 o'clock or when we see you in the Capitol for sure, so you have that. What I would say is that the leave behind, that is something that your lead staff person will have, so you don't have to worry about the actual member folders. There are folders that we leave, quote unquote, leave behind with the members, so that's what we actually call that. We will have that as your staff person, but if there's anything you'd like to include in those leave-in packets or leave behind packets, so again, if there's a brochure, there's some informational piece that you would like to have included that's about your clinic, we're happy to put those in, but I do need those ideally on Wednesday night so that we can get those added in time for the meetings. So again, plan to bring those with you to DC, give them to us on Wednesday night, and we'll get those added into the right packets for the leave behind. And again, you'll note there on the slide, it gives you an overview of what's in your packets. Again, we try to provide anything and everything we can possibly think of to make sure you guys feel comfortable in moving through the day. So should have everything. If there's something you're not seeing there that you want in your packets, let me know and we will try to make an accommodation. All right. Come on. So just very quickly before we get to our Q&A, again, those next steps as you get ready is, again, prepare that elevator speech, that introductory piece. Familiarize yourself with the key issues and ask. Again, as we've put, and said multiple times in this, you don't need to know them verbatim. It's just good background to have and to be familiar with what we're asking our lawmakers to do in these meetings. And again, we will be sending out all 5 of those issue areas, those PDFs of the issues, and then anything else that comes our way in the next week or so from NAC. So again, you may be getting multiple emails in the next couple of days from us, but that's again to make sure you're prepared. And it does make for good reading on the plane. So heck, you have 5.5 hours on a plane, you can definitely read them then. Again, gather materials for inclusion in our packets. So again, make sure you've got those in your suitcases ready to go and hand off to us. And then if there is any registration changes, so additions, cancellations, something happens, if you could at all possible, let us know by next Friday. So that would be March 9th. That would be ideal because again, I need to let our lawmakers know in terms of the actual meeting schedule, right? So I need to send changes and anything ahead of our meetings with as much time as possible. And again, we totally understand things happen right up to the last minute. Just keep me abreast of what's going on so I can keep our schedulers and our lawmakers abreast for scheduling. All right, I will stop talking and turn it over to all of you, and I'll let Rivka let you know best way to do that.
So I've unmuted everyone on the phone, or you can chat us on the chat box, either way, whatever you feel comfortable doing.
All right, any questions about the content of the types of issues that we're overall looking at, or any logistical questions? Looks like we've got an earlier question from Serena around the bureau meeting with health centers in Region 10, which includes Oregon, around who, we're asking for just one person from each health center to go, and it can be the executive director, or it can be someone else on the leadership team, and so we'll connect back with people about that, but I think that's, yeah, that's totally fine. But I think right now that room is always really tight, and so it's basically like one person per health center. And then, you know, standing room only if you can squeeze one more in. Any questions, or for folks who've been before, any things that you wish you'd known before the first time you went, or any tips or things that you particularly like to do to make the day successful for you? My only tip, I think, in this regard is to breathe in and out. Sometimes I forget to do that when I'm running from meeting to meeting, but also just to be prepared for the unexpected excellent things. So there's a lot of times where in these meetings, I'm always impressed with how much lawmakers really love seeing you all, and how much it means to them that you've come all this way, and it means a lot to us that you spend a lot of effort on this. So that's something that I just want to leave, I always like to leave room for, is being pleasantly surprised by just how much this really, you know, it can really stink to be in DC. And they really love seeing people from Oregon. So know that as much as we're really appreciative of our lawmakers' time, they're really appreciative of the effort that you take to take care of patients in their district, and the effort that you're taking to come all the way to DC to tell them about it. And sometimes lawmakers are having a bad day and they don't seem very appreciative, and that's okay too. That's on them. We've had some of those. They're just fine.
And that's actually a good point, that's something to be aware of. It's not you. It is likely other issues or other things in the background with those meetings themselves. So don't take it personally.
It's a tough place to work. It always has been, and right now is especially challenging. But I think usually health centers coming to visit them is a highlight of their day.
Okay, well, hearing none and not too many comments, thanks, Rob. Thanks for the comment. I'm glad it at least was helpful. I hope this was helpful for all of you. Again, this will have been recorded. We will send out these slides as well for your review. If there's things, again, that come up in the next week you have questions about, don't hesitate to contact Laura or myself. You know, we're happy to talk it through. We're happy to take, you know, individual calls too if you need that additional prep. And then we will see you in DC. The next time we will connect about this will be on Wednesday the 14th, again, 5:45. Hopefully see you all in the room, and we'll see you on the Hill. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.